Welcome to the channel. This is Bruce with PowerPoint Points. And today's presentation is going to be a little longer than the previous ones you've seen. This is a compilation of many items that I have covered and will cover in the future. And the title is How Not to Do Death by PowerPoint. We don't want to kill people with instruments, and we definitely do not want them to go to sleep. So no weapons and no snoozing is our intent. So these are the items that we'll be covering today. It's not many major items, but a lot of little items. The first is hardware items. As far as advancing devices, and you'll see this in one of the previous videos, you can use your keyboard, you can use the arrow key, the space bar. I found out you can use the letter N, the key N as in November, to advance your slides. You can also use a presenter, or some businesses call it a remote control, that will advance the slides and reverse them. It'll blank out the screen and also go from edit mode to slideshow mode and vice versa. This particular one from Logitech even has a battery indicator, and it's shown in the slide here. It has a remote, not a remote, but a dongle that plugs into your PC. You can also use the traditional wired or wireless mouse. Gives you a range of about 10 feet, where the presenter can go 50 to 100 feet, depending on which model you buy. And I also have shown on the right side here a screen print of a app called, can't remember the name of it, that will allow you to give the presenter view on your phone, and you can walk around the presentation area using the Bluetooth of the laptop and of the phone to have your current slide, the next slide, speaker notes, timer, and of course the advance and reverse buttons for your presentation. Very nice. But the go-to item for me has been the Logitech remote control presenter. And I have a note here: you want to make sure you include spare batteries for whichever device you bring. And the PC presenter, remote control presenter, also works on Word and Excel files. Another thing you can do from a hardware perspective is bring 2 flash drives with your files. Now you may say, well, isn't one enough? You would think so, but I've had an occurrence where one flash drive failed. I've heard and read reports that they fail pretty frequently. So I try to bring 2 flash drives in addition to what's on the PC, plus put 1 copy in the cloud. I use a Google Drive. Bring your own cables. Test them out before you arrive. Make sure that they're working. If they're questionable, don't bring them. And the second bullet, put speaker notes on the second monitor. If you can do that, typically you're going to use some type of projector or TV screen or LED wall. So therefore, that would be the primary, and you can use your laptop as a second monitor for your speaker notes, if so desired. Works real well. Bring an extension cord. You never know. And I have bring a printout, or you could bring a second device. Your cell phone could hold your presentation. You could bring a second laptop or an iPad. Just, you don't want a problem to kill your presentation before you even get started. So bring at least 1 backup, maybe 2, because things happen. Software items. Did you know that the letter B, like in Bruce, turns the screen black? Then you can get the B again, and it will return the screen. Also, did you know that the letter W will turn the screen, yes, white? And if you press it again, it brings the presentation slide back. Now you may ask, why do I need to use that? Because most of us are visual learners. So if we have something in front of us, we're going to read it. But as soon as I do this, now your focus will go away from the presentation and back to the presenter, back to the speaker. So you use this as a way to grab more attention or grab the attention away from the visual aid. You don't want to use too many colors because that looks nice on the screen, but across Zoom or in some business meeting, that looks like you're going to a party or something. Also, be aware of too many different font styles, sizes, types. In my earlier video, I put you would not want to use Comic Sans at a business meeting. You want to use a font for the type of meeting you're in. If you're in a birthday party for your 5-year-old, Comic Sans would be fine. But if you're in a meeting at town hall, that would not be appropriate. Clip art images. This is an example from a previous presentation. And for this example, I feel there are too many images on this particular slide. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the problem with this is it takes longer to read. And the question is, what is the message? Is this the message? Or is this the message? Or the trophies the message? Plus, it forces you to allow more time for the audience to read the slide or see the slide and try to figure out what is on the slide. For a slide with these many images, I would start at 8 or 9 seconds and go from there after 2, 3, 4, 5 times of practicing, starting at the title and going across and going across. And I've had some slides that take as long as 20, I've given as long as 20 seconds due to the detail on that particular slide. Unnumbered bullets. One thing that I found out over the years is that if you have too many bullets like this, it's hard to identify when you want to go to a particular line to discuss. Fortunately, these bullets are all the same and text is all the same. So, okay, I want to go to the 4th bullet. Okay, we're right here. But if you've got sub bullets with different symbols, it could get a little confusing very quick. I like to use numbering. Therefore, no counting is involved. Okay, bullet 3, bullet 5, very easy to draw the attention to the audience or to the speaker. I also, and this is just personal preference, I like to add a line feed. It kind of breaks it up some. Instead of having 6, or yes, in this case, 6 in one spot, I would have 2 sets of 3. I've even gone down to having 2 side by side, depending on how long the list is. Continuing on. Now, there's a lot of discussion out on the web about this. I've been to a couple of classes as how many words to put on a bullet and on a page. Some say 5 words per bullet. Others say 7 words per bullet. And remember, it's okay to abbreviate and use sentence fragments. This is not training. This is not a procedural document. These are essentially notes to help you present your presentation, or whatever it is you're talking about. So shorter is better. It takes the eyes off the slides and back onto the presenter. So as we just discussed, some say this is enough, 5 bullets per slide. Some say this is enough. This looks a little busy with 7 lines, but it's up to you. And it's strictly guidance that some of the PowerPoint gurus out there feel makes for a better presentation for the presenter and the audience. Another thought out there in the PowerPoint guru world is to not use any words at all, strictly use graphics. That tells the story right there. All the bodies that are dead. And you can see this presentation, this statement here, PowerPoint doesn't kill, people do. Remember, PowerPoint is a tool. Use it or abuse it. Let's try to use it properly. And here's an example I found of a PowerPoint presentation. What's wrong here? To me, we're too far back from the screen. The screen is a little small. Also, you're looking from a hole. So I know you don't have control over the room, but you can bring people closer. You can hopefully blow up your image a little bit, pull the projector back to so that the image is completely filling out the projector screen. Just make it as easy as you can on the audience. Some more funnies on PowerPoint. Presentation Zen. We all need more Zen to get this done. Here's a presentation checklist I found. What's the significance, the structure, the simplicity, and then you need to rehearse. We'll hope to keep this here for a couple of seconds. Basically, what this thing is trying to get across is, what is he trying to get across to the audience and why? What's their takeaway? What are they going to get out of this? Why is it significant? How are you going to structure it? You want to keep it simple. Here, 1 point per slide, images wherever possible, very few fonts, things we've already talked about. You want to rehearse it. You want to make sure that your 20-minute presentation is less than 20 minutes, not 25, not 30. We'll talk about that in a bit. Because if it's too much, nothing gets through to the audience. Okay, as far as transitions, don't use too many. Because at the time I did this presentation some time ago, a couple of years ago, there were about 30 plus types of transitions. A few is good. Don't overdo it. You'll notice people, if they do use transitions, they typically use the same ones in a row, or maybe even for the whole presentation. It kind of depends. Just remember that too much is not good. There's not a fade, but a smooth transition there. Not really a fade. It was more like a wipe. Okay, there's one that went up. And there's a split from the middle. Same with animations. Simpler is better. Not too many will be fine. So we're having text fly up from the bottom. That was a slower transition up. That was like a wipe up. That was a circle from about 3 o'clock back around clockwise. And as you see, there's 51 in total at the time I produced this presentation, 51 different animations. Now, busy backgrounds. There's another example from Toastmasters. We've got this image. Come to our event in Milton. The color's about the same as the red. You really can't see it for the light blue. You got information down here. This probably could have been a little bit smaller and picked a different color instead of red, maybe a yellow or a green. Green is close to blue, but you'd have to play with it. But these busy backgrounds can be challenging for the viewer. It just takes longer to read the information and try to understand what it is you're trying to get across. Please do not number your slides. It builds anxiety. So since this is slide 29 of 200, I have 171 slides to go. No, not really. I don't have 171, but you understand what I'm saying. It just builds like I'm already worn out. I've got 6 times or 5 times as many to go. So do not put the slide numbers on the slides. Now, some things for you to do. Add long pauses. That seems very long to me, but it's not as long to you. Plus, it forces, in most cases, the audience to slow down their brain, trying to remember what you talked about here, where you are, and where you're going, to just take a quick break. So add long pauses. It will help. We've already talked about inserting a black screen. You can use the B, like in Bravo key on the keyboard, or you can just insert a black slide into your presentation to force you and the audience to take a quick breath. Here's one that I have a presentation on also. Determination of the title slide of each slide. Basically, I guess you really call it the heading up here. Should it be capitalized? Maybe. Should it be bolded? Maybe. Should it be underlined? Should it be italicized? Should this font be larger than this font? There are some things to consider. I'm beginning to use the arena or use the philosophy that this heading should be smaller than the text, because you really want your emphasis to be on the text, not the header box of each slide. And there's also a video that I've produced on title slides, the title slide for each presentation. So please go back and refer to that for additional information. Ask questions. What do you think? How would you do this? Give me your opinion. It creates dialogue. It keeps the audience a little more alert, and it ends up not being a monologue to where you're talking the entire time. So ask questions. Get their feedback. Sometimes they may know, sometimes they may not know, but hopefully if you've got good content and a good story, they will have the answer. Pass out candy. Everybody loves candy, most of us, unless you're allergic to peanuts or something. But any type of prize or trinket, to just ask the question, and someone gives the right answer, award them or reward them. It goes a long ways. Some other things you can do: use the old-timey grease board. Takes your audience away from the presentation and onto this particular type of visual aid. And you can post some notes here or reminders. Use a flip chart. They're really inexpensive. The easels are really inexpensive. I've been in various meetings when I was working that they would put the ideas on a flip chart, tear the page off and put them around the room so people could kind of see what had transpired during the meeting if it's a focus type brainstorming meeting. So different type of visual aid. Dress to impress. Guys, get your ties out. A tie isn't mandatory, but you want to be dressed nice so that you'll be confident, you'll be impressive, and you'll feel good about yourself giving your presentation. Women, you know what you need to do when we get into that. Just dress to impress. You want to look good. You want to be good. You want to knock this presentation out of the ballpark. Handouts. People have just about gone away from paper handouts. We do send handouts out electronically. Basically, the presentation, which would or could include your speaker notes. Typically, if someone wants it, they will ask for it, unless the host wants everyone to have it. If you got to give paper handouts, it's preferred to give the handouts out after the presentation. That way, the audience is not taking notes on your handouts and not watching you, not listening to you. So you really got two things going on at one time. You got your presentation, you got them. So you want them to stay focused. If you keep them focused, the presentation can be shorter. You have less time passing out handouts and them trying to keep up on which page you're on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just think it through and try not to use handouts, which in today's environment with paper and cartridges, it's a expense that may not be necessarily warranted. Please run short on time. Be intentional. As I spoke earlier, if you have a 20-minute presentation, stop your presentation at 18 minutes or stop it at 15 minutes, which will allow your Q&A, maybe 3 minutes for Q&A. That's a little short for a Q&A. Maybe stop at 13 minutes and give 5 minutes for Q&A, but try to finish early. Do not have your 20-minute presentation going 30, 35, 40, 50 minutes. The host will not be happy. There's probably other items, the business items after your presentation. Just check with them beforehand to see how long you should speak and how long we should have for Q&A. That way, everybody will love you. So early on, like during your agenda period, you want to tell them what the takeaway is. What is the objective of the presentation? What's the goal? What's the message? What should I get out of this? Why do I want to sit and listen through this? So make sure you give them the takeaway. As I just mentioned, use a recap. I have in my notes here that normally what I do, my recap is essentially the same as my agenda, except I take the line out for recap and Q&A. So if I've got 3 items as in this presentation, hardware, software, and other things, that would be the recap. And you want to review what you've gone over. Please practice your speech. Please practice your presentation. You know, your built-in transitions, you saw that mine were a little quick. It could have been 10 seconds longer. Your gestures, your vocal variety. Sometimes you want to get up, sometimes you want to go way down. Use of any area that you're walking in. Use of flip charts, grease board, any other visual aids that you may have. Passing out candy, Q&A during your presentation. All that takes time and you need to allow for it. So stay calm and stay cool and practice. Do not get rattled with technology or the distractions in the room. If you have a distraction, do not acknowledge it. Just allow it to pass, whether it's outside the room or inside the room. Let it quiet down and then just get right back into your presentation. You don't have to acknowledge it. Everyone knows what the cause was or is. We've already talked about bulleting. If you have more than 3 items, I try to use some type of numbering system, whether it's numerals or letters. If you have some type of video, either embedded in your presentation or not, please have that video already up and running. It just takes less time for your presentation and the PC to go out and grab that video. If it's already up and running, then it's just basically hopping from this program, PowerPoint, to the program that you're running. Just makes life quicker, smoother, you have less dead time. Same with websites. This is an assumption that I've heard over the years. Assume 1 minute per slide. Now that's if you've got relatively minimal pictures or images per slide. If you've got 3, 4, 5 images, 3, 4, 5 pictures, it takes time to see each of those images. If you've got lots of words, it takes time for someone to read those and comprehend it. Some of us are slow readers, some of us are fast readers, some of us are slow with comprehension. So as you practice, read the slide slowly, aloud, as you're timing it. Same way with your images. Take your time doing your practice. Add some time so that everyone will have enough time to go over each slide. And allow time for your explanation of the slide. We've already talked about more images and less words, if it can be built, depends on the presentation. We just talked about this, allow time for transitions, slow thinkers, slow processors. We talked briefly about colors on fonts. We also need to be concerned about contrasting. Black on white or white on black is good. Black on orange is good. Black on white is good. This is not good. Black on dark blue. This is not too bad. This is getting close to not being good. The issue is things look real good on your monitor, but when you're looking at a 10 by 10 screen or an LED wall or a computer monitor, and you're 15, 20, 30, 40 feet away, this is going to be very tough to read. This will be tough, but this will be very tough. These three are very, very opposites on the color wheel. They'll be easy to see. Well, even this black on tan. So look at the wheel and use colors that are opposite from each other on that wheel or on the palette. Make the font large enough. This is a 20 font here, which in the word world would be plenty big enough. But this is an 80, I believe. Oh, it's a 60. 60 on the left and 20 on the right. This is the size you need to be using, not a 20. I also sometimes, depending on the slide, I will add additional line spacing to just kind of spread it out, makes it easier to read. And that's that is used, or that is commanded by this command here when you're menuing. Menu. Engage the audience. Have them raise hands. Have them talk back to you. It's not a monologue. What do you think? How would you open ended questions? Use humor on yourself. I can't think of any right offhand. This is a pretty tough subject, but we're going to get through it one way or the other. Smile, walk around, have some fun with it, keep it light. so that you don't have any deaths by PowerPoint. Know your material. I'll let you read those items. I won't read them to you. The last one's real important, depending on your if it's a budget or if it's a proposal or if it's just information. Think of the questions people may ask and answer those questions. They'll show that you're a very good presenter, or at least you're a thoughtful presenter, and you've thought up as many questions and the answers that you could think of before you got there. It just reduces your Q&A, makes you look more knowledgeable on your subject. Know the layout of your material, which slide is where. You can always, if you get in trouble, use the right mouse key. And if you move down to one of these options, will show you the slides. Maybe it's because we're in presenter view on the other screen. Okay, that's not what we wanted, but this is a way to maneuver if you want to go back. There used to be an option where you could see the slide numbers. Oh, I didn't want to do that. So know the layout, the order of your material. Spell check often. Spell check often. Spell check often. Spell check often. F7 key. And show up early. Early bird gets the worm, but you've got a lot of things to do. You got to find the location of your interface. You want to have somewhat of a feeling of the size of the room. Is it a 10 by 10 room? That's rather small. Is it a 10 by 20 or is it a 50 by 50? Look for tripping hazards. What about lighting controls, audio controls, anything else? Are there any steps to deal with? Do you have a podium or a lectern to deal with? All these things that needs to be handled early. And just the connections. Is it VGA? Is it HDMI? So those were the three main areas for this particular presentation: hardware items, software items, and then things to do on how not to have death by PowerPoint. So if you have any questions or comments, please post those in the chat if you're live when this premieres, or in the comment section. And be sure to like, share, or subscribe so that you can stay attuned of upcoming videos. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope to see you on the next video.